Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Track Car Obsession. Now that we got the hood pins in, we can go ahead and cut the whole front of the car off, well, the radiator support at least, so that we can put custom bars for the front bumper and put the radiator at a steeper angle for better ventilation. Stay tuned. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the upper and lower radiator hoses. Remove this one cable that we actually have going to the radiator fans. And then we'll drop the radiator out and then go ahead and mark our lines where we want to cut this thing. Alright, well that's all clear, so all we need to do now is mark where we want to cut these and break out the cutoff wheel. Alright, so we've got the radiator hoses off and the radiator out of the car. So all we've got to do is tape up where we want to cut this, and then of course once we're done cutting we can make some final changes with like a flap wheel or a grinding wheel or something like that, just to clean it up. But the main thing is right between the front frame rails, we're just going to go ahead and cut this whole section off, and that will leave the hood pins out here, the mounts for the front bumper, and it'll allow us to pull the radiator forward up here and then have ducting for it to come out of the hood. If you have a welding blanket, it's a good idea to use one of those. That way the sparks from the cutoff wheel don't go all over everything. I don't have a welding blanket with me here, so we're just going to be using a moving blanket and crossing our fingers that nothing catches on fire. So let's get this marked and cut. Alright, well, good news. The moving blanket didn't catch fire. It did melt in a couple areas, but it survived. So now we've got this whole section cut out. You can kind of get a better idea of what we're trying to do, and you can also get a better look at the lower radiator mounts that are in the Chrysler automation kit. You've got your radiator, your coolant output, and your radiator upper hose water neck up here. And so I've looked at, my wife has a 330i E46, and I've looked at the measurements and where the outputs are on the radiators, and it looks like that may be the best fit for it. I looked at a bunch of different ones, and it turns out the other car that I have here at the house has a perfect radiator for it. So I'm going to snag one of those, and we'll probably be able to continue using these same lower mounts. If not, we can modify some new lower mounts for them and then find an angle that we need to do. We're going to throw the front bumper on here, and that way we can see where we can put the top of the radiator and tilt that forward. That way we can have the whole front area boxed in front of the radiator and the oil cooler, and then out of the radiator that's going to be down at a pretty good angle, we'll have it boxed in coming out the top here. So we'll need to make provisions in the sheet metal for the output for our intake and our upper radiator hose. But The intake, we're not going to be using the one that's in the Chrysler kit because that just puts it over here. We're actually going to run a custom intake down in front of the radiator because that's going to be a high pressure area, and it'll just help with actually getting a little bit more air, and it'll be cleaner air getting up into this intake. So that's what we're going to be doing on this one. But now that this whole front end is off, like I said, we can go ahead and mount the front bumper and get an idea of where we're gonna need to be building a new like bash bar setup, and then now that it's also off, you can get a better look at a bunch of things. So there was some questions that people had about certain things that I couldn't show in the previous video when I was talking about the swap. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here and make a really short video of all the stuff underneath the car and things that you couldn't see in the previous video, and that'll be another video as well. So now that we've got this done, we need to run the wiring and do the last modifications to the wiring harness, and we'll get this thing fired up pretty soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.
Take it easy.